So hey, you've probably got questions for me. Draki, where have you been? You keep vanishing for months at a time. Why are you human? I subscribe for the man-eating cat. Well, I need to explain a lot of things, and instead of trying to articulate every single time, I figure I might as well just make a video explaining how this works. To start off, I have Other Specified Dissociative Disorder Type 1B, OSD 1B, or OSDD 1B, or just OSDD for short. A lot of people have heard of Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID. OSDD is similar, but a distinct condition. So before I get into that, I'm going to explain what Dissociative Identity Disorder is and how it forms. It's extremely important to clarify that not every case is the same and that there are always exceptions. When a child is developing, it takes some time to develop proper consciousness. If a child is exposed to trauma during this stage, they may attempt to cope by imagining that these traumatic experiences happened to someone else. This interference of development leads to two or more distinct consciousnesses developing. Essentially, it's when the early trauma stops you from forming a distinct sense of self. When diagnosing DID, there are 5 criteria in the DSM-5. 1 is 2 or more distinct and observable personality states. These can impact behavior, sense of self, consciousness, memory, motor functioning, etc. 2 is memory gaps, be it recent daily events, important personal information, or traumatic memories. Importantly, these don't align with ordinary forgetting. It's not like, oh, I forgot that this I forgot that we did that earlier. It's like you have no recollection. The thing is just like a black in your memory. These symptoms lead to stress or impairments in important areas of functioning, often social or occupational. This identity disturbance is not part of an accepted cultural or religious practice, or in the case of children, not better explained by fantasy play. And 5, not attributable to the effects of a mind-altering substance or another medical condition. DID is actually quite common. About 1 to 3% of the world experience it. Statistically, you're more likely to have DID than you are to be ginger. OSDD is a similar disorder which comes in 5 different types. OSDD1 comes in 2 types. A is when the personality states are less distinct identity-wise, but there are still gaps in memory between the states. Whereas B is when there are no gaps in memory between the states, but the personality states are still very distinct identity-wise. Your memories being blurry or feeling somewhat like someone else's don't count in this case. Like I've discussed with my psychiatrist, it's like, oh yeah, that's just very common with dissociation in general. OSDD2, where the identity disturbances are caused by intense and long-term coercive persuasion, such as being tortured, brainwashed, indoctrinated, etc. OSDD3 is when there are acute dissociative reactions to recent events, usually lasting less than a month, that may only be hours or days. Can feature many different types of dissociation, like a near-death experience or something. OSDD4 only features entering a dissociative trance of unawareness or unresponsiveness, just like kind of like dissociating from everything. It's a dissociative disorder, but it's not specified as any specific other one. OSDD may be prevalent in as high as 8.3% of the population, which is on average more likely than the current overall chance of someone identifying as LGBT. Though keep in mind that the data on that statistic is quite skewed, with younger and more accepting generations showing as high as 20% identify as LGBT. Before I move on, it's extremely important to clarify something. Psychology is f***ing confusing. If you've never heard the idea of the half-life of knowledge, it's the time taken for approximately half the facts in a certain area to be either changed for something better or proven untrue. This can change over time, ranging from decades to years. The half-life of psychology is on average 7 years, meaning that by 2020, about 50% of the contents of the original DSM-5 will be outdated. Uh-oh. From my experiences with my psychologist and psychiatrist in these conditions, it's pretty clear that everyone's experiences may be different. Their personality states may interact or function in different ways. It's a disturbance of consciousness, but we don't fully understand what consciousness is or how it works. So I'm going to set a precedent here. I have 2 diagnoses of OSDD1B, one from a psychologist and one from a psychiatrist who specializes in dissociative disorders. I know a lot of people will rush to the comments with their Google knowledge about how I'm faking because I don't match the first Google results. Real doctors know how to tell if somebody is faking or if there is genuinely something going on. You don't. You just can't learn the same diagnostic skills as a real doctor by simply Googling the DSM-5. You most likely attack people for self-diagnosing when you were equally, if not less, qualified to diagnose them yourself. They know and experience what's going on inside their head, but you don't. Trying to define what DID and OSDD are isn't protecting people with real DID or real OSDD. You're just spreading the idea that your first response to someone who claiming to have the condition should be to demand that they prove it, or otherwise they're a fake and a fraud. The only people who can just define what DID and OSDD are the actual doctors, and if you ask them, they know that there's exceptions. No, not everyone is the same. Everyone's different. Before you go to the comments and type your rant about how I am the problem, that's just going to boost this video on the algorithm. If you don't believe people like me should have a platform, then click off the video and go watch someone play Minecraft now. If you're still here, I take it you're actually here to learn. Great, let's get into it. To begin with, let's start with a few basic terms. To refer to a single one of these personality states, the term alter is the correct medical term. Some prefer the informal term headmate because they find being suggested as alternative to be degrading, but we personally do not have an issue with the term. A collection of alters is called a system. A person who is a system is commonly referred to as being plural. A system has at least 2 alters, though some extend into the hundreds or, God forbid, even the thousands. Each alter has a role, though they aren't required to. As of August 5th, 2025, there are 5 of us in my system. Starting with myself, Draki, who will be represented with pink. My role is that of the host, which I personally think is a weird term because it implies that my alters, which I actually affectionately call them my sisters, spelled with a Y instead of an I, are somehow parasites, which is not true. So it's a weird term. A host is an alter who undergoes most of daily life, like a default state, I suppose. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm the original alter or state. In fact, we're pretty confident I was not. Not all alters are forever, and my childhood trauma seemingly nuked most of the previous except for Clover and I. Speaking of Clover, she's going to be green here, in like my little representation. Clover is a protector, that she protects me and the rest of the system from threats and traumatic things. She does this through a process called switching, essentially how alters gain and lose control over the body. Let's say I got grabbed unexpectedly or was experiencing a particularly bad hallucination. Clover would step in and forcibly remove whatever's hurting me. She will also do this to people harassing friends of ours as well. Generally speaking, this isn't violence, but she'll be very verbally forceful, and unlike the rest of us, does get legitimately angry. She also takes care of physically strenuous tasks, but that's more of a hobby than a role. Lilac, the blue one, is a blend between a caretaker and a protector. In addition to making sure we're eating and sleeping regularly enough, she also protects our personal boundaries as well. Though protecting our boundaries often means breaking the boundaries of other people to teach them not to hurt us again. Ruby is red, more of a medical caretaker. If we have a nasty wound that needs cleaning or potential dead material that needs removing, she's the one sterilizing the scissors and blades and tweezers. She also makes sure we're taking care of our skin and keeping ourselves clean, and mainly showing up if we aren't. And then there's Star. She's the orange-yellow one. She's non-verbal in the sense that she cannot use direct methods to communicate with people. Only things that require a second step, like interpreting a sequence of images. She's very new and we aren't quite sure why, but the running theory is that when we get too overwhelmed, Star forcibly slows down or even stops the conversation entirely to give us time to recover. She's also especially shy, struggling to be around when there's more than a couple of people. Next up on the explanation list is splitting, which is when one alter breaks off a part off into another alter. Star, Lilac, and Ruby all broke off from me, for example. We don't know of Clover, she's been around a long time. The process is often painful or distressing while it is happening, and to a degree it feels like someone's trying to take over single parts of the body at a time. Like a single muscle moving unprompted or a constant feeling of squirming inside your chest. Shaking and tingling is also quite common in our own experience. Alters are not exactly forever. They can come and go, and the 5 of us don't plan on going anywhere, but our memory suggests that there are likely several that came before us that are no longer here. To an observer, this might not feel like a big deal, but to us it feels equivalent to losing a family member. While each alter has their own role, they do frequently show up just to experience the outside world of their own accord. As I'm writing this, Clover and Lilac are also conscious and watching. It's probably partially due with me being anxious a lot lately, so they're keeping a close watch to any threats. The inner world, commonly known as headspace, is a place that members of a system inhabit. Not every system has a headspace, and not everybody with a headspace is a system. The Mind Palace technique of memory recall is arguably a kind of headspace. While it's not entirely clear how a headspace works, to our understanding it's essentially our collective imagination being used to understand and comprehend each other, turning us from voices in each other's heads to interacting beings in a space. Headspace often features a specific room you need to be in to have control of the body. In our case, it's sort of like what you're seeing now. Calm, comfortable. There's stuff deeper into our headspace. It's sort of like a shopping mall, hotel kind of place, but not even we fully understand it, so... And it's like an imaginary, non-Euclidean, always changing garbage place. Really annoying to... Point is, I don't have time to explain all of it. In regards to how to address us, ask who's there. While you may see us as one person, we do not see it as so. So it feels really rude and dehumanizing to be treated like a persona or a role someone is playing. I could also discuss the limb-related dysmorphia. While we are human and think as humans, in our headspace we may not necessarily be. Star is missing 2 extra legs, whereas Lilac feels like she has more body parts than she should. But that's a whole new can of worms we don't really want to get into here. I hope this educated you a bit more on how this confusion condition works. This is mainly targeted at my parents and anyone I may be interacting with who may need this sort of information. Thank you.